How we doing today, folks? I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me over the sound of all these damn cars, but I'm coming at you from a really cool slice of roadside that I found on one of my wanderings. This video serves as a pretty good lesson in the value of ecological literacy, I think, and I'll get into that a bit more later after I exhibit some of the plants in this area, and that'll kind of give you a better idea of why ecological literacy is such an important thing and something that we need to harbor increasingly in a time of fragmentation and climate change. But all that aside, there's some lovely vegetation on this roadside. Get a load of that. Those discoid flowers. This is an ironweed, a vernonia. The species here is going to be Miserica, which is demonstrable by the pubescent nature of the stem and the leaf underside. If you look closely, you'll see you got some hair there. But what else? And it's also got more than 31 flowers per head, making it. I counted, so which was really annoying, but I did it for you. So you should share this video a whole bunch. We've also got an abundance of Daucus carota. I'm not really going to talk about that because it's just a weed and it's not native. But what we've also got who's a native weed is this lovely character right here. Another member of the Asteraceae with only discoid florets. This is a tall bone set, Eupatorium altissimum. You might confuse this with the late bone set, Eupatorium serotinum, but a couple of distinguishing features. Eupatorium altissimum, it's only going to have serrations in the apical third of the leaf. You can see that for most of this leaf, it looks pretty damn smooth. But then you get to the tip and you see some little serrations. You're also going to note that these leaves are sessile. Sessile leaves, they don't have a pedicel, making it apparent that this is Eupatorium altissimum rather than serotinum. Let's continue let's keep on moving and keep on looking at stuff. Here's a lovely little milkweed. Lovely little milkweed here, Asclepias verticillata. For those of you that are just jonesing for more milkweed content, I'd advise you to check out the Botany and Beer YouTube channel. He's put together a really great series on the native milkweeds of Indiana. Very informative. It'd do you a lot of favors to go check it out, I think. But anyway, moving right along, we've got a nice grass. Look at that grass. This is Tridens flavus, the grease grass or purple top. It's instantly recognizable by this red raceme panicle, not sure which, by this red inflorescence and the greasy feel you get after stroking it. This is a very greasy grass. I've said that before. I'm not sure what the importance of that grease is. Could be to prevent against fungi, could be to prevent against insects. We've got this little guy, Fragaria virginica. I talked about this in one of my earlier videos, but this is a good indicator species for seeing remnant prairie or a reconstruction that really knows what they're doing. Because this guy gets overlooked an awful lot, like I mentioned before. But this is what I really wanted to show you. And this is how I knew this was a place that should be documented. Look at all that silphium. That's Silphium terebinthinaceum, the prairie dock. It's a wonderful piece of prairie vegetation. It's got a massive taproot that shoots down underground. It's so tough this thing can even survive soil scraping operations. But what you're going to note about Silphium terebinthinaceum, note those big deltate leaves, big triangular leaves. They're scabrous as hell, meaning that they feel like sandpaper. But what's not scabrous as hell and what's very smooth, in fact, is the scape that Silphium terebinthinaceum sends up. When you got an inflorescence like this, just a massive flowering stalk coming out of some basil leaves, that's what you call a scape. And it gives rise to this beautiful Silphium flower. Oh my God, get a load of that. With those nice obtuse bracts, with the fertile ray and disc florets. What do I mean by fertile ray and disc florets? Well, I mean that both in the Silphiums at least, not in all the genera of the Asteraceae, but in the Silphiums, both the ray florets and the disc florets are responsible for producing seed. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see on the end of the disc florets, hang on, it's waving in the wind, give me a sec. If you look closely, you'll see some dried up styles on those disc florets. Sorry, on the ray florets, right there at the base of them. And then if you look to the interior disc floor, it's just a mess of pollen and styles. All that's responsible for bringing about the reproduction in the silphiums. Pretty badass. But there's a lot of other cool vegetation in this area. We got this character. This is a solidago. In particular, this is Solidago nemoralis, and you can tell right away that you're dealing with nemoralis because it's got this kind of gray cast to it, given its pubescence. A very, very cool member of the Solidagos, that. Oh God, just look at those silphiums. You just can't get enough of them. And this is good, hardy prairie vegetation that we're looking at right here. We've got Helianthus grosseratus, the sawtooth sunflower. We've got an abundance of other asters that haven't gone into flower yet, so I can't really identify the Symphyotrichums. What else do we got? Hang on, there were some other things I wanted to point at. We've got Pycnanthemum virginianum somewhere in this little stretch. Hang on. Do you guys notice the invertebrate life? There's grasshoppers flying everywhere. That's a meadowhawk dragonfly. There's the virginianum. There's a pearl crescent perching on the Pycnanthemum. I saw a skipper earlier. The insect life out here is crazy. And here's the beautiful Pycnanthemum virginianum coming at you from the Lamiaceae. A lovely plant. I'm trying to do this video in one take like I'm the next Stanley Kubrick of botany. But anyways, moving right along, we've got another Solidago. This one's a different species. Let's come on over and check him out. Beautiful. Note the glabrous stem, the leaves continuing up into the inflorescence, and the early bloom time. This is going to be Solidago juncea, the early goldenrod. Beautiful. And got an evening primrose here as well. It's a really interesting mix, the vegetation here. You've got stuff that you see in the old fields and some kind of junk, but you've also got the bare bones of a prairie still present here. And this is why ecological literacy is so important, because whoever's mowing this side of the road doesn't have a goddamn clue what they're doing. They're mowing on the side of the road in late summer. You do burn. It's just not the right time of year to do that mowing. You're going to want to do that mowing earlier in the spring so that in the late summer all the prairie flora can truly flourish. Here's some more prairie flora. Big blue stem, Andropogon gerardii, going off just on the side of the road with Silphium terebinthinaceum. And the thing is that, so all this vegetation is clearly telling the story that this used to be a prairie, but it's not anymore because it's not being managed properly. And that's where the importance of ecological literacy comes in. Because with the proper amount of education and ecological literacy, these landscapes wouldn't be in threat. And given that there's so little left of them, they're becoming increasingly important to protect. So yeah, just a little roadside rant about ecological literacy and the glory of the genus Silphium. I think I might accidentally dox myself by showing my car in this video, but that's okay. Anyway, I'm gonna go visit another roadside. Have a wonderful day. Well folks, I've found my second roadside for the day and I'm absolutely having a ball in it. This is what looks to be more like a floodplain forest type ecosystem. There's a lot of cool characters that we're going to talk about, a lot of kind of wetland veg as well. And we'll kick things off with this lovely character right here. Look at that. You might recognize this, you know, as a eupatorium off the get-go, given these discoid flowers with the little styles poking out. This is Eupatorium perfoliatum. Gets that name from this nice perfoliate leaf structure that you see here. Look at how the stem punches directly through the leaves there. Oh, and we got a little wasp pollinating it. Isn't that lovely? Wasps are really good pollinators. I've argued about this at length on this channel. What we've got right here is the beautiful Rudbeckia laciniata. Going to be able to distinguish this from the other Rudbeckias by its very, look at how deeply dissected these leaves are, giving it the name laciniata, meaning cut. You know, the common name here is the cut leaf coneflower. But what you're going to note is these deeply dissected leaves, and of course the glabrous stem. This one being covered with leafhoppers. Oh yeah, look at that. Some nice insect action. Very cool stuff. What we've got right here is a a hibiscus, this being the hibiscus moschitos, a beautiful flower. I've also got an abundance of the, I believe this is Eutrochium maculatum, another member of the Asteraceae with only disc florets. That's characteristic of, I wrote up the tribe in an earlier video. I think it's the Eutrochinae, not 100% sure. And all around me, the stuff that looks like grass, that's actually a sedge. I believe this is Carex trichocarpa. Given this, look at this beautiful purple bleed the sheath has. That's very identifiable. I can't find any fruits because I'm out of the season for Carex trichocarpa. Well, let's talk about some other graminoids in the area, shall we? We've got this beautiful grass coming out like a green fountain. This is Cinar rundinacea. Lovely. I was hoping to see one plant in particular down here, but I don't think I'm gonna. Unfortunately, they seem to be missing. But I'm still having a great time besides the fact. There's tons of pollinators moving through here, and this is an area that I don't really know whose ownership I'm on right now, so this might be a little bit dicey, in fact, folks. But you know, sometimes you gotta take risks out there to really enjoy things. Anyway, I'm gonna see if I can find some more stuff to discuss. Now, it might not look like it given the similarity of the flowers, but there's actually two species of aster in flower here. One of them being Rudbeckia laciniata, who we've already discussed. The cutleaf coneflower, of course, with those nice alternate deeply dissected leaves. But then you're going to look at this character down here and you're going to say, hey, his leaves aren't deeply dissected and they're opposite. So who is that? This, my friends, is Heliopsis helianthoides, the Heliopsis that looks like a helianthus. And now the way you're going to distinguish this from a helianthus is you're going to take a nice look at the bracts. Okay? Because you've always got to be getting a look at the bracts in the Asteraceae. Let me find a bud maybe and I can show you the bracts a little bit better. Never mind, I'll show you these. But anyway, what you're going to want to be noting about these bracts is that they come to a truncate end. See how it's kind of squared off there? The bracts in Helianthus are much more foliaceous and stringy than these. So that's how you distinguish the Heliopsis from the Helianthoides. Oh God, isn't this just look at that. Just look at that landscape. Absolutely beautiful. I hope someone starts protecting this soon, because this would be a real tragedy if this goes to waste. Found something else really neat to show you guys. This is a dodder, a species of Cascuta. I believe this is in the, I'm not 100% sure what family this is in. I want to say it's maybe the Convolvaceae. Same family as sweet potatoes, but this one's in flower, which is something I don't get to see very often. But what's really cool about the dodder is that if you couldn't tell by the orange coloration and lack of any green on it, dodder's a parasitic plant, and you can see these little bumps on it. If the camera would focus. God, this is nerve-wracking because I don't want to drop my phone into the creek. But if you see these little bumps along the stem of the dodder, that's where it's patching its historia into the stem of the host plant so it can siphon nutrients out of it, which is really badass. A lot of parasitic plants use the good old historia to get the job done. Oh, look at this. Got Lizomachia ciliata. Beautiful in the, I think the Mercinaceae, one of our native loosestrice. Very cool to see. Got some monkey flower going off on the opposite bank. That's deeper than I anticipated. Oh man, looks like I'm gonna have to find another way to cross perhaps, or just get back on the bank. But anyways, moving right along. And here's a plant that indicates very clearly that we're in kind of a wetter environment. This is Impatiens capensis, the orange touch-me-not. Now, the easiest way to distinguish the touch-me-nots is by, of course, the coloration of their flowers. Impatiens pallida being yellow, while as Impatiens capensis is usually this deeper orange. So you might be wondering, how do you distinguish the two when they're not in flower? Well, a really good trick that I just learned is the number of teeth per side of a leaf. In capensis, it's going to be greater than 9, whereas in pallida, it's going to typically be less than 9. So you can use that as a vegetative rule to distinguish the two species when they're not in flower. A handy trick that I picked up from Nathaniel. Anyways, another cool thing about this plant is that it's its reproductive morphology. The impatiences, and I believe you can see it right there, right next to each other. The impatiences, or at least the touch-me-nots, they produce both chasmogamous and cleistogamous flowers, which one of those, chasmogamous meaning open pollination, like you see with these, which actually rely on pollinators to set seed and reproduce. And then you've got the cleistogamous flower, which does not need to which is not openly pollinated, and it actually self-fertilizes. Very, very cool, the reproductive morphology of the impatiences. And a lovely plant that you get in these wetter ecosystems. Look at that big old stand of Joe Pye, just standing amidst all the Carex trichocarpa. And oh, this is another good wetland plant that we got right here. Some big old Sagittaria latifolia. Absolutely beautiful. Ah, yeah, we've got Bohermia cylindracea, the false nettle, all vegetation indicative of more wetter places, as is the abundance of ash trees that I'm seeing in this area as well. So this is a really, really neat location that I'm definitely going to have to keep coming back to and watching. Maybe doing a little bit of guerrilla gardening and keeping the invasives out of here, because I did see a bit of reed canary, unfortunately. But aside from that, this place is looking pretty damn good in my opinion. Oh yeah, I'm really glad I stopped. And here's another great wetland plant that I've come across. This is probably one that you don't want to put in your yard on account of its acute toxicity. This guy that I'm handling right now, this is Cicuta maculata. You're going to note these double compound leaves and this nice purple stem terminating in these compound umbels, so characteristic of the Apiaceae. The toxin in this cicutoxin is reportedly one of the deadliest in North America. So this is a plant you're not going to tangle with. You're not going to want to tangle with lightly. The Iroquois people actually referred to this as suicide root. So this is a pretty badass carrot right here. Pollinators seem to be enjoying it. Just got to note that, you know. Anyways, I don't know why. Why do I got to note these things? So what I think I'm going to leave you with is just the importance of being aware of the ecosystems in your area. I was aware of I've been, recently been made aware of how badass and cool floodplain forests are. So I've been, trying to keep my eyeballs peeled for some vegetation that's characteristic of them that I can jump in. And this is just a coincidence of me getting lucky. I saw someone I recognized from the road, Rudbeckia laciniata, and I decided, hey, fuck it, I might as well jump in there and do a meet and greet with all the lovely characters that are calling that same ecosystem home. But the plant I'm going to leave us on is this lovely member of the genus Silphium, really tying our two roadsides together. This, you can tell by the perfoliate leaf structure. Guess the name. Silphium perfoliatum, folks. And there you go, the beautiful Silphium corolla with, of course, the obtuse bracts and the fertile disc and ray florets. So I hope you guys have a good day. I certainly had a good one. Gonna have fun editing this footage, I think. Anyways, take it easy. Keep your eyeballs peeled for nature and stuff like that. And have a good one.